What's up, wall fans, common sensors, social media world? It's Sunday, you know what that means. Time for another Common Sense Sundays episode with Go Tell It to the Wall. And of course me, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. Got some great stuff for you this week. Interestingly, of course, this particular episode is coinciding with a certain birthday that we're going to talk about because social platforms have been flooded with things that you wouldn't expect, or maybe you did expect because it was coming. Anyway, lots of stuff to get into on that, as well as some COVID updates, some housekeeping updates, lots of new stuff coming your way, and of course the mental health, some entertainment news. We got some great stuff, new music coming out very, very soon. So we're going to talk about all of those things in this edition of Common Sense Sundays. Let's get into it. I always need to say on the video too, I have this awesome theme music, so if you don't actually listen to the podcast itself, you're not getting the theme music. That's why I'm sitting here bopping for like 10 seconds at the top of every episode. Make sure you check that out. All right, wall fans, Common Sensors podcast consumers, welcome to another exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, of course, your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And this is episode 6. That's right, trucking along with these Common Sense Sundays. If you've been a long-time listener, you know the background on that. We will get back to our Thursday Go Tell It to the Wall episodes hopefully soon. Who knows? With numbers spiking and everything else, it's going to be a little more difficult to get back to that, but it's going to happen someday. In the meantime, we have Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall and all kinds of other great content. We'll talk about some new content that's coming out this week during the episode here as well. We always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, before episodes, whenever you so please. And you can do that in multiple locations. We're currently live on Facebook with our live feed. Head over to facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Like our page, check back often. That's going to keep you updated on all new episodes, all new content that's coming out there. Really, anytime a video gets posted or a new episode gets posted, it's all posted through that group. So make sure you like our actual Facebook page, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Of course, our YouTube channel. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to our channel. We post about the videos on Facebook, but most of the videos actually live on YouTube. That's where you're going to find our parenting playlist, as well as all the live feeds for every episode that we've ever done live feeds for. And our mental health playlist, Mental Health Mondays is all up there. Beer reviews, which there's more of those coming soon. Talk about that shortly here. All that good stuff. So make sure you're subscribed and turn on the notifications so that you're aware when new stuff gets posted. Stuff gets posted absolutely weekly. Sometimes much more than that. Just depends on what kind of content's coming up. Website, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Make sure you bookmark that website. If you don't remember the actual URL for the Facebook page, it's hard to forget, but if you forget or have trouble finding the YouTube channel, you're going to find links directly to those things on SeanO'RourkeLive.com, as well as other stuff that you actually won't find anywhere else, blog posts, photos, all kinds of great stuff, including our Patreon campaign. I mention this every episode, but please help us out. If you see fit to do so and you have the means to do so, please help us out financially. Every dollar helps. I've been currently tracking we haven't had some new patrons in a while, so we could use some new ones, and especially because we're in need of some new gear here in the studio. My headphones are starting to fall apart, so I got to get a new set of these soon. Anyone out there that wants to help out, jump on that Patreon and support the Go Tell It to the Wall universe, everything that encompasses that. Because I always want to say support the podcast, but it's all kinds of different stuff out there that you're supporting. So help us out on Patreon. And again, if you don't want to help us out, plenty of other artists and musicians out there on Patreon that you can go and support and get awesome perks from. Give Me Motion is up there. I know Gen Pop is up there. There's all kinds of great artists and musicians, so check them out as well. New content on the website just went up last week too, so keep an eye out for that. There's some new photos and good stuff that went up there. We're also changing out some of the videos, although those essentially also live on YouTube. But keep an eye out for that as well. And we're going to do a week of beer reviews. I have so many beer reviews, like, just in the hopper right now, tons of them. I went through this just, like, before the pandemic started. I went through and I had this pile of beer in the corner. If you've listened to the podcast religiously, you know I would refer to that, and finally got through most of it. So I'm sorting through all those. All that stuff is going to be up on YouTube, but we're going to definitely do a week of beer reviews. So all this week, look for a new beer review every single day this week. Maybe more than one, but guaranteed one beer review every single day this week. And then as far as content goes, there's going to be some new Something's Not Right Studios content coming. Actually, once I finish this episode, I've got some other content to shoot in the studio here, and one of those, at least one of those, is going to be on Something's Not Right Studios channel there on YouTube. So keep an eye out. All that good collaborative stuff that we've been working on, and it seems to be going well. So some new music suggestions coming your way this week. Look for that. All right, digital trends. Digital trends, that's right. Stuff trending on the social platforms right now. And of course, I think I only mentioned it to the live feed, but this episode happens to coincide with a certain birthday. The birthday of a certain orange person who was very loud in this country and very divisive. But of course, because of that, there is a certain hashtag that is trending right now on the social platforms, and that's hashtag Happy Birthday Donald Trump. And you would think, well, is this people wishing him a happy birthday? Well, it is. And I'm sure there are actually people out there genuinely wishing him a happy birthday, because somehow this son of a bitch still has followers and people that think he's a decent human being. Maybe they don't even think he's a decent human being. They're just following him. Like, they don't know. I don't know what it is. It's mind-blowing that this guy can have a single follower at all. And I'm including his family. Like, if that was my father, I'd be like, holy shit, dude. But this is people having fun with it. Hashtag Happy Birthday Donald Trump. And the platforms are being flooded with photos of President Barack Obama in order to get a rise out of the Orange Menace. People are sharing all those photos and clogging up, filling social feeds with these photos. And you know, the tweeter-in-chief, who sits on Twitter basically all day, is seeing these photos and getting nice and riled up about it. I'll tell you, I'm just waiting until smoke comes out of his ears when he's, doing some kind of talk or whatever it is. I'm just waiting for that moment, because it's like he can't. Every time I think he can't do anything worse, he does something worse, and we're going to talk about that actually, kind of at the end of the digital trends here. Another hashtag going around right now: all birthdays matter. Of course, this is another slight on the Orange Menace. Oh, excuse me, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing my voice somehow. I'm not even allowed outside the house. I'm losing my voice. But hashtag all birthdays matter. Of course, like I said, another just plug at the Orange Menace, and making fun of the fact that he and many of his followers like to put out this all lives matter into the universe, and that's obviously making fun of the All Lives Matter movement, because we all know it's ridiculous. If you have any common sense, you know that the All Lives Matter thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I've talked about it enough on Common Sense Sundays. I'm not going to get into more of that. But if you want to laugh a little, those are probably going to be some hashtags you can check out on the social platforms today. All right, I want to talk about this. A couple things that are serious and somewhat trending on social platforms. One of these is another thing the Orange Menace did just a couple days ago. Actually rolled back Obama-era protections for discrimination against transgender people, specifically when it comes to health care. He rolled these back. These are obvious protections that should be put in place, and I'm not going to get into all the stories. We just don't have enough time, but I would encourage you to do a little bit of research on this and understand why this is important. And people have literally died because this protection wasn't in place. We are putting people in danger, and we're giving insurance companies the right. They're allowed to do this now, to not insure transgender individuals. And if you look at this and you don't think anything but disgusting, then there's probably no reasoning with you. But I will say, do some research and understand why this is important. It's being framed as a good thing, which it's always amazing to me that this administration puts out these things and they try to frame it as a great thing. It's flat out discrimination against people that have every right to the same things that others do. Every right. There's no reason that we should be able to deny things to somebody who is transgendered. We shouldn't be able to deny things to anyone who's a human being, period. That goes for anything. Sexual preference, anything like that. But here we go, this administration rolling back these protections. People are going to be put in danger. People are going to die. And it's very unfortunate. It's beyond unfortunate. It's just disgusting. And I really hope that we can hit a point once this administration is done where we can fix these things. This administration thinks they're fixing things from the Obama presidency, when in reality they're just dismantling things that were good. And I'm not sitting here saying Obama, I've never been a huge Obama fan. I don't like politicians, period. If you've listened to this podcast, I'm not a fan of politicians at all. At all. I mean, there's a couple that I enjoy that do, when I see them speak or hear them speak, they do inspire me to get out and make a change. But for the most part, I don't care for politicians. This isn't me saying Obama was the greatest politician ever. No. These are common sense things that were put into place. And now we have an orange son of a bitch sitting there in the White House rolling back things just because he wants to be an asshole. It's as simple as that. He's just doing everything he can to hurt anyone he can at this point. One thing I will say out of this is I'm extremely proud of my punk rock community. I'm a little bit disappointed in my burner community at this point because I have seen so much speaking out from the punk rock community on how unjust this is, how ridiculous this is, and the support that they are showing for people within the punk rock community who happen to be transgender. I'm extremely proud of that community right now. Burners, you need to step it up a little bit. You can say, well, it's so hollow just sharing things on social platforms. Yeah, but you're making your voice heard. Make your voice heard in some way, and I'm not seeing as much of that from the burner community as I should. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't post a bunch of things on social platforms. What I do is I go in a studio for an hour a week and I yell about it. That's how I get my voice heard. And I have a very minimal audience. 15, 20,000 people listen. It's very minimal, but I still make a point to do that. And I'm a little bit disappointed in the burner community right now. But this is just, if you have anyone close to you in your life that is transgender, reach out to them at this point and let them know that you care about them. Because we have an administration that's showing it does not. And it's disgusting. All right, one more thing, kind of a digital trend right now. And I'm going to put this in a digital trend as just kind of the misinformation that's coming out regarding this particular thing. And that would be the Chaz, oh my gosh, Capitol Hill. I was blanking on the CH for a second. Capitol Hill autonomous zone there in Seattle. Protesters, if you're not aware of this, and I'm not going to get into all the details on it, I just want to talk about the misinformation. Protesters have taken over a couple of city blocks there in Seattle, and police have left them to it. And it's crazy because if you look to the media for what's going on, you would think it's this lawless zone straight out of Mad Max. And if that's what you're seeing and that's what you think is happening, I encourage you, do some real research. Look up media and news personalities and journalists that are actually going into this autonomous zone. That's where you're going to get the real information. Places like Fox News are blowing this out of proportion and making it seem like it's anarchy and all this other stuff. Most of the photos I've seen from there and the stories I've read, it's basically a commune. For all my burner listeners out there, it's freaking Burning Man with less dust. And electricity. Well, more electricity. People are always like, there's no electricity. No, it's just a lot of gigantic generators. So don't fall into that trap. You shouldn't be watching Fox News at all, but really, if that's where you're getting your information, go elsewhere. Because there is a lot of misinformation, especially regarding this particular situation in Seattle. Get real-life info from the ground. Real-life info. That's the important thing. And the other important thing is, I'm going to put this as black and white as possible, because it's not black and white, it is gray. And anyone out there, you know where I stand on this, obviously. Full support to anyone out there protesting. To be honest, peacefully or not, full support. This is make your voices heard. No justice, no peace. But here's the black and white of it, the common sense of it. If you're sitting there and you're upset about these protesters in the autonomous zone in Seattle, but you weren't upset about those farmers or ranchers or fucking rednecks up there in Oregon like a year or two ago that basically took over the land with guns. We're not talking about people running around with guns here in downtown Seattle. But if you didn't have a problem with that, those ranchers or whatever in Oregon, you are not allowed to have a problem with this. Simple as that. You can disagree with the protesting or whatever else, but you're simply not allowed. It's common sense. You can't have it one way and not the other. Common sense. But of course, additionally on digital platforms right now, we're seeing so many people show their true colors. On both ends. I've been incredibly proud of some people that I've said this before on the podcast, some people I know before that never were supporting something like Black Lives Matter. Athletes, personalities, people I know personally. I'm seeing all this, but I'm also seeing a lot of people showing their true colors. Absolutely. So be careful of that out there. Make sure you fact check. Get your information straight from the source. It's not that difficult. And understand what your priorities are, for the love of God. Speaking of priorities, we got some COVID updates here. Man, I don't know how I'm losing my voice. I think because I was out doing like a bunch of yard work yesterday and some construction. I'm finger quoting that. Construction on the house. I'm not very handy. I'm definitely not handy. I don't want to say I'm not handy at all. I can do a couple things, but it's few and far between things that I can easily fix. Even with like a YouTube video. All right, COVID updates. Everything's continuing to reopen around the country. In fact, here in Los Angeles, we have reached stage 3, which personally, I'm not looking at all the details on it, but things are opening back up. We're opening hair salons and nail salons and all kinds of crazy stuff. Bars are opening. It's kind of wild. And of course, we are still seeing huge spikes in numbers. In fact, Los Angeles this past week had their highest single-day increase since the beginning of the pandemic. Here's the thing. I've been saying this for a while. If you really got to get out and you got to go do something, I'm seeing for people that I know personally are like, I got to get out and I got my tenant, for God's sake. I got a tenant in my guest house in the back. I have no contact with her. She's out 5-6 times a day. And she's been doing that for months. That's fine. Do it. But at the same time, don't be surprised when you see these spikes. Don't be surprised when we're on stay-at-home orders again. Because that's coming. That's definitely coming here in Los Angeles. It's just a matter of time. And for me personally, I'm still at home. I'm staying home. And if you gotta go out, wear a goddamn mask. It's not that hard. Get yourself a nice stylish mask. Look cool. Coordinate your outfit. I guess people coordinate outfits. Still. Always have. I never have. It's not something I really do a lot. The only time I do is sometimes I work from my shoes up. Because I got a lot of Vans, and it's like, well, I'm going to wear these bright green Vans today. I do need a shirt that's not ridiculous with the bright green Vans. But outside of that, I don't do a lot of coordinating of my outfits. Lots of t-shirts and jeans, and if I got to be somewhat presentable, I put on a button-down shirt or a flannel, and I'm ready to go. I basically go from like button-down all the way to suit. I mean, I can get dressed up. Don't get me wrong. I look pretty darn good in a suit. But it's very rare that I wear a suit. Weddings and funerals is pretty much the only time I'm wearing a suit. It's the only time. Outside of that, t-shirt and jeans. One more thing on COVID updates I want to talk about. There's a lawsuit that just came out in Ohio. I'm not going to get into the details of this, but apparently there is a couple of festivals, specifically country music festivals, that have sued cities in Ohio wanting to be able to put on these festivals this summer. Specifically, one of those festivals happens in August. Obviously, all the festivals have pretty much been canceled or postponed. We got official word this past week that Coachella here not in Los Angeles, in the Southern California area, was officially canceled. It was originally postponed to October. That along with Stagecoach, which they pretty much happen hand in hand every year. It's 2 weekends of Coachella and then a weekend of Stagecoach. All that's been canceled. So these are obviously the better choices. Even when we're seeing numbers go down, we probably don't need to pack a bunch of people into these festivals. Trust me. I want to be at a festival so fucking bad right now. I mean, I think I have to look at dates, but a year ago today, I think it was a year ago today, I was seeing Rancid and Pennywise in San Pedro, having a fantastic time, running into people I see at all kinds of shows and stuff, just having a blast. I want to get back to that, but we have time until we can get back to that. And the ridiculous thing about this lawsuit in Ohio is they've come out and specifically said, if all these protesters can go out and take to the streets and get near each other, then there's no reason that people can't go get near each other and enjoy music. And it's like, Jesus Christ. People are so dense. Still, so dense. Alright? I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it because everyone starts blaming the spike in numbers on protesters. First of all, we're not even we're now getting close to 2 weeks since the protest started. That big spike that we saw a week or two ago was for Memorial Day, for the love of God. But here's the difference. I'm hoping this is the last time I'm going to say this on Common Sense Sundays. The difference is the protesters are out there protesting for rights. They're out there protesting so that people don't get killed. There's a big difference between not wanting people to be murdered and making your voice heard, your voices that have never really officially and genuinely been heard, versus going to a concert and listening to some dumbass sing about his dog and his car and his ex-wife. I said it. I don't care for country music. And of course it's country music festivals that are really come on. It's country music festivals that are really pushing for this. Of course it is. It's not the punk festivals. It's not even Coachella, for the love of God. I'm just not shocked anymore. I'm not. And here comes the hate mail about country music. I don't care anymore. I don't care. Then get your fan base in line. And if you want to be that way, then be offended. I don't care. I don't care. Speaking of protests, still going strong. I will say, we need to keep this moving. I want to see this continue as much as possible. We've still been donating to as many organizations as possible to help out in any way that my family can, because, as you know, I can't take to the streets. My mental illness is not going to let me take to the streets right now. But I do hope that this continues. There is a big protest here in Los Angeles today, and I'm happy to see that it's continuing, and I hope that it will continue, because we still have a long way to go. We're seeing things happen, but we still have a long way to go. And then you got the orange one sitting back there and fighting tooth and nail on everything and rolling back other stuff like we talked about. It can't stop. It's got to continue. Be heard. That's where we're at. And it has to. And additionally, stop with the looting narrative. I think we're done with the looting narrative. The media needs to stop. It's getting ridiculous at this point, and especially now because we're not even seeing a lot of the looting. Any looting videos I've seen recently in the past week are police officers destroying windows. That's all I've seen. All right, parenting. That's right. Man. I will say, I'm going to have the longest summer possible from a parenting standpoint. So, my kid is 3.5. She's 3.5. About a week ago, she's never really liked them to begin with. She deals with them. But about a week ago, she decided that she has an absolute fear of fireworks. I live in Los Angeles, California. Specifically, I live in Highland Park, California. We're one of the fireworks capitals of Los Angeles. Every night there are fireworks, especially on a Friday and Saturday night. And I'm not talking like the fireworks, the sparklers and stuff, the little things that you can buy at fireworks stands, which those are even illegal here in Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles. But those are one thing. I'm talking about the fucking mortar fireworks that you see at a professional fireworks show. Shooting off in the air every night here in Highland Park. Every night. I'm not even going to talk about the fire danger. We're having an early fire season this year and everyone's going crazy with these stupid fireworks. Big booms to compensate for something else that's not so big. It's just like the dude that drives a giant truck doesn't need to drive a giant truck. Yeah, compensating. That's what's happening with these fireworks. But unfortunately, my daughter is scared of them now. So she goes to bed, especially this past Friday night. Oh my God. I get her into the room. She lays down. 5 minutes later, firework. I'm back to the room. She's, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Back to the room. Comfort her for a few minutes. Back in bed. I don't even get all the way from her room to the living room on Friday night. Boom. Back to her bedroom. And I have no problem comforting my child, but Jesus Christ, if we could just calm down with the stupid fireworks. It's amazing. And like I said, I live in Highland Park. I'm going to be doing this all summer, unfortunately. At least through Labor Day. At least. That's going to be my life now. The other fun thing I'm dealing with now is my kid is in the why stage. I think 3 years old is about when they hit that. So everything is why. She'll ask a question. Why? 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 And every single thing is why. Anyone out there that has kids, you can probably relate to this. And it's getting ridiculous because it's turning into like literal physics. You know? Like, why is this rock hard? Or like, what color is the sky? Blue. Why? Well, you know what? Let me pull up Google and give you the scientific reasoning why the sky is blue. It's just, but that's what you get. So it's the summer of fireworks, and why is what I'm dealing with right now with my 3-year-old. And it's really funny. My wife and I have been joking about it. We're just like, yep, in the why stage. Why? And I haven't hit that point. I have hit one point. I haven't hit the point where I say just because. I remember my mother saying that to me. Why? Just because. And that would be more of like, well, why can't I eat this? Because. And, kind of nips that in the bud. The other one that I have gotten guilty of, I remember my father doing this to me when I would say why. And he would say, just to get you to ask questions. And my daughter, I've said this one to my daughter a couple times. She just kind of looks at me. And then after a minute, she goes, why? I'm like, well, that didn't work. It's just, parenting. It's a joy. It's an absolute joy. But man, sometimes you just want to get them into bed and pour yourself a cocktail. All right, I want to talk about this. We're going to go over the half an hour today because I got a couple things I want to talk about. Actually, we're just going to skip mental health for this particular episode. There was a story out of, oh my gosh, where was this? Oh, I don't have it right in front of me anymore. There's a story out of somewhere. This mother, who happened to be homeless, she was sentenced to 5 years for enrolling her son in a school that was outside of her school district. 5 years in prison. Now, of course, she happened to be a woman of color, black, African American, and really had come out and said she just wanted to get a better education for her son. Here's another common sense situation that we can look at. Regardless of how you feel about people putting their kids in other districts, we are seeing the double standard, obviously based on race right now. You ever heard of Felicity Huffman? 14 days in jail for bribing to get her kid into college. Bribing. Not just using a different address, bribing. This mother that was sentenced to 5 years, she just used her babysitter's address. Didn't bribe anybody. 5 years in prison. Felicity Huffman spent 14 days in jail. It gets even more ridiculous than that for me, personally. Because I will tell you, a lot of people don't know this about me. A lot of people know part of this about me. I've actually literally been in this situation myself. Not me being put in a school outside of the district. I actually went to private school my entire 13 years of schooling, kindergarten through senior year of high school. So there was no district for me. I went to private school. However, I was in a situation many years ago where I was helping to raise a young teenage boy. And before I even came into that situation, he was actually attending school in a different district from where he lived. And where, at one point, I lived. Instead of going to the LA Unified School District, he was going to the Las Virgenes Unified School District. Well, the school found out. The school district found out. You know what happened? They called and said, he can't go to school here anymore. He's going to have to go to LA Unified School District. And that was literally the end of it. That was the absolute end of it. They said, no, you can't go here. You're going to need to enroll in that school instead. There was no penalty. There was no risk of jail time for anyone in that household at all. That's my own personal experience of now seeing a double standard. I'm not going to sit here and say it's right. The nuances of that are well beyond me. I understand wanting to have your child go to a better school. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I can say is nobody deserves to go to jail for 5 years just for wanting a better education for their child. This should have been done at that. You need to go to this school. That's your school. And we're done. But no, facing 5 years in prison. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna skip. We're gonna have a mental health Mondays this week, but I'm gonna take that segment out of the show because we are running short on time now, and I have a couple things I want to talk about. This is a bit of housekeeping, and I'm gonna be honest, definitely a first world problem that I'm gonna talk about a little bit here. So I recently ordered some new Bluetooth earbuds. I had some, I really liked them, and I've talked about brands on the podcast. Well, they finally went out. The cord actually started to go on them, so I ordered some new ones. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I ordered directly from the company JBL. I've said on this podcast, I like JBL headphones for kind of consumer stuff. They make nice earbuds, especially from a athletic perspective. You know, you can wear them for working out and stuff. I enjoy them. I wear Pioneers in the studio, and I'm picking up new Pioneers probably in like a month or so. I love that for the studio. I also wear some Sennheisers over the ears, but JBL is kind of my go-to for earbuds and stuff. So I order, and sure enough, I run into problems with shipping. Now, this is partly UPS's fault, partly JBL's fault. I don't want to get into details on that. I spent days arguing with a lot of people and eventually had to bring in my credit card company and say, I'm not paying for something that literally is not going to arrive here. But I bring this up because it's a warning to everybody. Make sure you're paying attention. Like JBL, great company. Pioneer, great company. Terrible customer service. If you're going to get some new JBL headphones, don't order directly from JBL. You're going to get some Pioneer headphones, don't order directly from Pioneer. There are great distribution companies out there. If you're in the Southern California area, Pro Sound and Stage Lighting is a great one. You're going to get great customer service, especially if you're getting some studio headphones. Best Buy, things like that. I've learned my lesson too many times that there are some companies that are great at making things. They're not great at customer service, and they're not great at selling you those things. So that's a fair warning. Don't even mess with JBL. You can get it all at Best Buy. I hate to say it, you can get it on Amazon. And that's the thing. I'm always like, freaking Amazon. My wife says the same thing, like, using Amazon again. I try not to use it as much as possible. Here's the thing. It's been over 2 weeks, and I am still arguing with JBL about those headphones. I ordered similar headphones from Amazon. 2 days later, they were at my doorstep. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and tout Amazon, but for the love of God, they know what they're doing. Of course, I've had problems with shipments from them, but they take care of it. Whereas JBL, I'm still going back and forth with them on a shipment that was literally stolen. It's Jesus Christ, people. Just get it from other sites, other distribution outlets, whatever it might be. I finally watched Space Force, the new Steve Carell, Greg Daniels show that's on Netflix original show. Watched the first couple episodes. And I waited because there were so many bad reviews on this. And whenever I see real bad reviews on movies or shows, I try not to read them in the first place. But I kind of give it a cooling off so that I'm not going in there with like, this show's going to suck or this movie's going to suck type thing. Finally got around to watching it. And I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I do see where some of the criticism came from because it is trying so hard. But the interesting thing to remember is, especially if you were a big Office fan, it's probably been a long time since you watched season 1 of The Office. Steve Carell in season 1 of The Office is just, Michael Scott is absolutely cringy the entire time. So I think Space Force is great. I can see the criticism, but I will say if you have that criticism about Space Force and how it's kind of pushing everything a little, like there's a scene, and this is no spoilers or anything, but there's a scene where they have politicians and it's clearly like, okay, well, that's Bernie, that's AOC, and that's, I think it was Pelosi. I can't remember the third one. But it was obviously one of the Democratic politicians. So there's things like that. However, I wouldn't hold that against it, even if you're kind of like, it's not that great. Give it some time, because they're going to find their footing, much the way The Office did. So I recommend it. Check it out. And definitely give it more than just like 10, 15 minutes, because it is a good show. All right, there's some pushback on Disneyland. Disneyland has gotten petitions to change the theme of Splash Mountain. If you're not familiar with that, it is basically Song of the South themed without Uncle Remus. If you're not familiar with Song of the South, go do some Googling. I'm not going to talk about Song of the South. I don't like to give it a lot of airtime here because it is an extremely racist film. There's been some pushback on the petition. Everyone's coming out, and this is, again, I'm this straight up common sense. You know where I fall on it. Get the racist shit out of there. Just get it out of there. However, even if you're going to sit there and say, well, we want to have the tradition of this Splash Mountain and everything. Splash Mountain's only existed since like 1986. We're not talking 50s, even 60s or 70s. The 80s. For the love of God, it hasn't been around that long. I'm older than freaking Splash Mountain. But here's the thing with that. If you want to uphold, it's like, oh, we want to uphold the tradition. That's how. Fine. But much like some of the other stuff we were talking about in this episode, you had better been complaining about all of the other things that Disneyland did over the years. You better have complained when they changed out Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. You better have complained when they switched out the Hollywood Tower of Terror and made that all marveled out. If you complained about each one of those things, then I will give you just minimal, like smidge of complaint about this one. However, if it's based on racism, that argument's out the door. Common sense. You can't have one and not the other. Again, common sense. And here's the thing, I do get it to an extent. I mean, I have no problem with them changing Splash Mountain. We don't need Song of the South stuff in there. But I get it with some other Disney stuff. I remember the first time I took my daughter there 4 years ago. Just about 4 years ago. She was like 6 months old. Took her there. And I was actually staying at the Disneyland Hotel. My wife had a big event that night, so we went to the park during the day. And then my daughter and I walked around downtown Disney while she went to an awards banquet, while my wife did. And I remember thinking, because they're really pushing Marvel and a little bit of Star Wars, but really pushing Marvel. And in fact, there were Marvel characters on my Disneyland tickets. I was like, this is kind of silly. I'm going to save these tickets because it's my kid's first time, but can I get a Disney character? And I was like, okay, Marvel's popular right now. But sure enough, I actually ran into a couple of women who were riding the elevator down to go to the park. And they were clearly Disney-philes, really into Disney, but they were not Southern California local. I can't remember where they had traveled from, but they traveled from out of state. And they were actually a little disappointed. And I said, it seems silly, but I hear you. Especially for you, you came here from out of state, and you want a nice ticket as a souvenir. I mean, I guess people keep tickets. I kept my daughter's first time. And you come here and you got Spider-Man on your ticket, and you're not even a Spider-Man fan. So I get it. I get it to an extent. But you can't complain about things and base it on racism and then call it tradition. Same thing with the fucking Confederate flag, people. You can't hide racism behind tradition. Doesn't work that way. You can't have it both ways. All right, one more thing before we finish up for this edition of Common Sense Sundays. Bad Cop is out Friday. That comes out this Friday, June 19th. Check that out. And they just dropped a brand new music video for their track Simple Girl. Make sure you check that one out. I enjoyed it. Saw a lot of familiar faces, people that I've met through shows and everything else. It's an awesome video, awesome song. Check it out, and I will be picking up that brand new album on Friday. 5 days away from some brand new Bad Cop music. All right. Oh, one more thing. I gotta do it. I don't do much of the birthday things, but I got a very important one coming up here on June 17th. So a very, 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 very happy early birthday to Pops, to my dad, my father, Jack O'Rourke. He is turning, wait for it, 75 on the 17th. Big birthday, turning 75, and he's going to be stuck in the house with my mother. I know he's getting restless over there, but very, very, very happy birthday to my dad, Jack O'Rourke, and milestone birthday, man. I hope I make it to 75. Milestone. All right. Oh, man. I'm exhausted. I still got a bunch of stuff I got more work to do here in the studio, more stuff to shoot. So I think based on that, we're going to have to call it an episode. Thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you for everyone joining on the live feed. Thank you for downloading, listening, sharing. Please make sure you are subscribed and downloading all of the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to make sure you like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, and subscribe. Check out all those awesome videos. Most importantly, SeanO'RourkeLive.com, your one-stop shop for everything that is Sean O'Rourke and Go Tell It to the Wall. All right, as I said, this has been episode 6 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. I am, of course, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and we will be back next week, same wall place, same wall time. Until then, remember, wall fans, common sensors, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Not a lot going on the live stream this week. I think it's just kind of one of those Sundays, and hopefully if you weren't able to catch this live, it's because you were out making your voice heard or making a difference in some way, however you can. And at the very least, whatever you're doing, hope you're wearing a damn mask. All right. Until next time, remember, wall fans, common censor, social media world, if you've got any complaints, go tell them to a wall.